Welcome to the Year 4 workshop. Today we'll be looking at how we teach reading in school, the expectations for the end of Year 4 and Key Stage 2, and also how you can support your child at home with their reading. At Highwood, we believe it is absolutely important to ensure that children have a good level of reading by the end of their primary school education. Children who've got a really good level of understanding of reading will go on to do better at secondary school and in future life, and this is why it's so important to us. This diagram shows the importance of reading at home. As you can see, the difference in James and Travis in the amount of reading they do every evening equates to a lot of difference in the total number of hours they read by the end of primary school. So the expectations in Year 4 are that children will be able to perform plays and poetry aloud using intonation and tone, and to read further exception words including complicated words. This means that when they read aloud, they can read clearly and with interest to their reader. It also means that they can read those tricky words without support. In Year 4, we want the children to become more independent with their reading. This means that they have to start looking for the meaning of words in context of the rest of the words around them. We also want them to start being able to identify and summarise the main events in more than one paragraph so that they can understand the theme across the book. We need to look at how the structure and presentation contribute to meaning, so that means such as how do bullet points, chapters, subheadings, etc. help in their understanding of the text. We were looking at a range of books so that the children can understand different themes and conventions across different books and how they link to each other with their ideas. We'll be looking at lots of different types of poetry so that the children can not only understand how to perform them, but the differences between them. We'll be continuing to use dictionaries to spell those complicated words. We will be working on how to infer meaning from the text based on the themes and ideas that are happening within the chapters. We will be looking at how to create evidence from the text before we make these inferences so that the children are not just taking a guess. So as we're working and making progress in Year 4, we're always thinking about where we need to get the children at the end of Year 6. So here you can see the expectations at the end of primary school, and you can understand how the Year 4 objectives fit into those. So the main way of teaching reading at Highwood is through whole class reading. This means that the whole class shares a book and all the activities are based on the chapters we read. This is a really excellent way of allowing all children to access more complicated books and to more complicated learning. Some children may need extra support in their reading learning. To help these children, we sometimes have one-to-one reading with an adult or reading interventions such as phonics or comprehension in the afternoons. At the heart of our reading curriculum is reading for pleasure. It's really important that the children are enjoying the books they're reading, which is why the books we've selected for whole class reading are so exciting. We also encourage children when they pick their own books to take home that they pick ones they think they will enjoy, not just a book that's at their level. So as I said, the main way we teach reading is through a whole class text. This term we're reading The Secrets of the Sun King, next The Thieves of Ostia, and in the final term Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. So we teach reading through the 5 main skills called the Derrick skills, that is decode, explain, retrieve, interpret and choice. In Key Stage 2 we focus more on Eric, so we don't use the decode skill because most of the children by now are able to decode the words. So this is an example of when we use the explain skill. In this activity, the children had to look through the text for a vocabulary that would decide whether the child was either from a poor family or from a rich family. They had to explain how the vocabulary that the author had used had allowed them to achieve this. The retrieve skill is to find information in the text in order to answer a question. As you can see in this activity, the children had to find information from the text about what the jar looked like and then draw a picture of that jar based on the evidence. The interpret skill is where children have to use their inference skills to understand the text. As you can see from this activity, they were asked to write a letter that wasn't actually in the book. They had to infer what the character would want to say based on what had been written about. The choice skill is all about the author's intent and how they wanted the reader to feel. From this activity, the children had to look through the text for evidence about how the author had tried to make them feel fear for Grandad's life when he was in hospital. Vocabulary is absolutely imperative when it comes to teaching reading, and so we have a process in order to allow the children to access those new words and then use them in their reading and writing. First, we identify new vocabulary and we look through clues in the text as to understand what those words might mean. We then explicitly teach the vocabulary to the children that allow them to write sentences using the new vocabulary and to have a really good understanding of the new words. Here's an example of some of the vocabulary we picked out in the first chapter of our book. As you can see, we picked words and phrases here that the children may not have heard of before, and we allowed the pictures and the discussion for the children to understand them so they can understand the text. We use the accelerated reader system to help pick books at the right level for children to take home and to read in class. What we do is every term we have a test which sets the children's ZPD. That ZPD determines that the book that they take home, and then they take quizzes based on those books. Once the children start to get good scores on more complex text, they're able to move up to the next level and they can make progress throughout. The great thing about the accelerated reader system is it allows children to use any books, not just those books in school. If you want to know if a book that you've got at home can be taken a quiz on and is part of the scheme, then you can go to Accelerated Reader Book Finder UK website and that will be able to help you. As I said before, reading for pleasure is absolutely vital. The more the children enjoy the text, the more they're actually going to make progress. This means that they should be picking books that they think are exciting, they should be reading books that are exciting, they should be reading books with other people, they should be sharing in their excitement of the different books that they read. There are many different ways to find that perfect book for the children. The Accelerated Reader scheme, as I said, allows you to check the right level, but there are lots of other websites out there that will suggest good books for Year 4. So I suggest that if you're looking for a new book for your child, rather than one from school, you look in the library, you look online, and you look in bookshops for the most interesting books that you think the children will really enjoy at the right level for them. So thank you for watching our socially distanced Year 4 reading workshop. I hope you found it informative and useful. If you have any questions, feel free to make an appointment to speak to your teacher about it. Thank you.